Okay, well, welcome everybody, good afternoon. It's nice that you're here, and it's nice that we have this slightly more intimate discussion this afternoon. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'll just briefly say I'm Professor Don Waxman, and along with my colleague here, Dennis Sullivan, we are the co-directors of the Middle East Centre. The Middle East Centre is the sponsor of this event, along with the International Affairs Programme. We're grateful for helping bring Ali here this afternoon. Just very briefly, I'm going to allow Rebecca here to introduce Ali. I just want to say, on a personal note, that I actually had the privilege and the benefit of hearing Ali talk about 5 or 6 years ago in the West Bank, in Bethlehem. It's something that I remember very well. And so it really is a great pleasure for me to be able to bring Ali here to talk to you. You don't have to go to the West Bank. If you do go to the West Bank, I'm sure you can meet with Ali and hear him there. But it's really, I think, important, particularly at this time of very polarized discourse about Israel and Palestine. It's really important to hear firsthand from people who are living the conflict, who are dealing with it on a day-to-day basis. And so it's really, I think, important. I'm really grateful to Rebecca Polovy from Encounter. She'll tell you a bit about Encounter's work in the West Bank, that we have been able to bring Ali here to talk with you all and give you, I think, what is a very important and somewhat neglected first-hand perspective, the Palestinian perspective, from the West Bank. So with that, I will turn over to Ali, to Rebecca, who will introduce Ali.
Hi, thank you for welcoming us to Northeastern. It's really great to be here. It's beautiful. So I'll just tell you quickly about our work and why we bring Ali, and then I'll introduce Ali in a second. But the work of Encounter is primarily within the Jewish community, and it's to bring, which is one that I don't know how familiar some of you may be, but often doesn't really have opportunities to hear Palestinian perspectives. And yet our community is very engaged in what happens in the Middle East with Israel and with Palestine, and we don't, the leaders in our community talk about it, make decisions for our community about how we want to engage with Israel and with the conflict, and yet have never met a Palestinian face-to-face, nor visited a Palestinian city. So our work is really to work on all sides of our community, from the right to the left, to the Orthodox, to the conservative, to the Reform, and bring everybody in a nonpartisan environment to the West Bank to hear from a number of Palestinian speakers that represent a lot of Palestinian civil society. Not the leaders that you can read about in the news, but really the people on the ground who are doing the good social change work in their community. Ali is one of our favorite speakers. We get him, hopefully, we invite him on every trip that we bring, to every group that we bring. His messages are incredible, and they really help transform and open up the hearts and minds of the members of the Jewish community. He was just telling Dov about how he met the president of American Friends for Likud, and I don't know if you know about Likud, but it's a very right-wing Israeli party, and then this is the American Friends of it, and they had this great conversation the other day in New York. So Ali is a great speaker, he's got a lot to tell you, and we're happy to bring him here now to the States and to even spread his message and his impact even further. And we're even more pleased that people like Dov, who have been alumni of our program, are inviting them into their communities. It's really come full circle, so it's very powerful to be here. Good to do it. So Ali Abu Awwad, born and raised in Beit Umar, which is a small village in the southern West Bank, for those of you who are familiar, south of Jerusalem, in between Bethlehem and Hebron. We're looking at it this way on the map. Ali was raised there in a family who was very active in the PLO and in Fatah since the day he was born. His mother was very active. He'll tell you about it. He himself became very active at a very young and early age. Ali's story is one of violence. He's a victim of violence. He also, by some definition, was a perpetrator of violence. in his earlier years, and he has gone through a transformation to be one of the, can I say, most outspoken leaders of nonviolence in his community, in the Palestinian community. He has been the founder of a number of initiatives on the ground, which he's carrying out, and which I'll tell you about today. And should I leave it to you? So I'll just say one more thing. In the 5 years that I've known Ali, and I've heard him speak a lot of times, over 50 times, I've watched him vision and dream about the things that he wants his community to do and that he wants to see on the ground. And he's not just a visionary, and he also, in those 5 years, I've watched him build the things that he wants to see. So he'll tell you about his land, which was a dream maybe 2 years ago, that just this summer I went to for the first time, and it's actually really there. There's the land, and there are the people that he's bringing to this land, which I'll tell you about. So he's not just a dreamer. Ali, take it away.
You know, there is someone said, dreams is not something we see when we sleep. Dreams is something that doesn't make us sleep. And there is a difference between being a dreamer and having a dream. And I think that's why Martin Luther King said, I had a dream. Because he was serving it, not just feel good with it. Well, thank you for having us. Thank you for being here. And I like it to be in universities, actually, because all of my life I wanted to be a student. And I have a crazy Palestinian dream to be a pilot, which is an insane dream for a Palestinian. We have no airplanes, we have no country, actually. We have the land, but we don't have all of these values of any normal life or government. So I'm not here just to talk about my dream or to talk about hope. I mostly talk about belief. When I speak, when I engage myself and try to engage others in solution. And this is painful. To create solution for a problem is more difficult than to create a problem itself or to be part of a problem. And wherever I go, I always tell people not to take sides. And I know it's hard because we are not equal on the ground. But I found myself going to places where Jewish and Muslim and Christian has created two lobbies against each other. And we keep paying the price of being pro this or pro that. My message is to be pro solution. And being pro-solution doesn't mean to step back and not to take responsibility. Being pro-solution means to support dignity, freedom, security for all people in that part of the land. Because I'm politically convinced as a politician also that our freedom as a Palestinian has to come within the security of Israel. But Israel will never achieve security by occupying us. We cannot be good kids under occupation. But also, sometimes this occupation drives you to madness, where you leave you lose your control, whether for resisting it or building yourself. And I will tell you later about that. The best challenge for us as local leaders, as politicians, as community leaders, what are the challenges that we are facing to reach solution? I grew up as a refugee. My family used to live in Kibeba, Lachish, the Hebrew name. 1948 was the establishment of Israel for the Jewish nation. But for us it was the Nakba, the catastrophe, where we have lost our houses and our land. And actually we have lost our political nationality as Palestinians. And to be born to that family, all the narrative that you know is a painful one. And everything that you study about the other side or you learn about the other side from your parents is just painful. And even people in your own community still treat you as a refugee, and you feel stranger in a way, within your nation, within your community as a refugee. And you start this struggle. And for me, being born for a political mother, my mother has become one of the political leaders of PLO, Palestinian Liberation Organization, before I was born. I was born in 1972. And I became an activist. And when the first Intifada started in 1987, the Palestinian first uprising as a national movement, a national mass movement against the Israeli occupation, I become engaged easily. Because all of the conditions, not just the memories, not just the past, not just the narrative, also the daily conditions for us as Palestinians is just educate us to hate. And I am amazed sometimes when people ask me why Palestinians educate their kids to hate. I don't think if you live in such environment, you need a specific curriculum for hate. It makes the job for you. You don't need anyone to teach you how to hate the Israelis. So I grow up and I become engaged. I become a young activist for Fatah movement. Then I was arrested with my mother. So we both end in the prison to be 4 years. I was there for 4 years, and my mother was there for 5 years. And for me, being in the prison, it's like being in a university. Twice a day in a circle to discuss issues, and you learn languages. My English comes from there. My not perfect English. I have learned Hebrew. It has become like my mother language. And the best thing that I have there was non-violence. And I didn't study non-violence by reading books or by having lectures or by traveling and learn about other people conflict which was solved non-violently. I practiced it. The first big non-violence approach for me was when I joined a hunger strike for 17 days. Me and my mother in her other prison and 5,000 political prisoners. We were struggling to achieve better conditions, but both of us wanted to visit each other in the prison. And for the first time, I could achieve something for my activities from the Israeli authority and from the Israeli government. And I could visit my mother, and we could achieve almost 85% of the things that we asked for, better conditions inside the prison. But I saw that there is something powerful than my physical action. Something was very connected to my humanity. I mean, non-violence represent your right as a human being before as a politician or a fighter. Non-violence is the best place to invest your pain, your anger. It's the best place to direct and control your action. Non-violence is the place where you create a secure place for the enemy to give up or to see you for the first time and to understand your cause, your legal cause. Non-violence is not giving up your rights. It's not giving up your rights for resistance, but it's not also giving up your right for your humanity, to behave and to act as a human being. Because violence is also an action and a normal action for a human being. But non-violence is not to be stuck with this right. Non-violence is the art of being a human being. You become an artist of your humanity by putting it together in the best and in the most legal way that you can imagine, that nobody can resist you, nobody can ignore you. So it affected me deeply, but it was a very hard process, because you start struggling within yourself. You have a conflict within yourself, because violence and anger and this pain inside you can blind you easily, but also you have to focus through your head, through your mind, more than your emotion, more than your rightness, more than your political rights. You have to hold it together and not to be driven by the system. So non-violence is mostly about control. When you succeed to control your reaction, it means you will control the other side. Then you become the stronger one in this approach. It's a very complicated, deep behavior, and I joined it, and I could see how much successful is it. Then shortly, there's many stories that I can tell you, but I will, for the short time that I'm here, I will try to put all things together, which sounds impossible. So I hope that you will understand me for what I'm saying in this short time. We were released by Oslo, a peace agreement, and we had a mission as local leaders, because the whole leadership of the Palestinian community was in the prison that time. And we were released by Oslo Peace Agreement in 1994, and our mission was to transform the nation, the Palestinian nation, from being a part of revolution against Israel to become partners and neighbors of Israel, and to switch from belonging to political parties resisting the occupier, to switch to be political parties within a country, independent Palestinian state, and to belong to a society in legal values where violence has to consider to be a crime in normal political environment. And we couldn't succeed to transform the nation because of the continuation of the military occupation of Israel, the continuation of settlement, then many political Palestinian parties act violently as a cause of freedom. Then you will see for the first time people blow up themselves, very violent attack, despair, anger, people have lost their hope, corruption, political corruption, then Palestinian has lost their identity. I mean their identity of belonging or of building a society which can really become part of a legal, independent law that we are part of regarding Oslo Peace Agreement. So it was the failure in 2000 when the second Intifada started, has become militant and led by military groups in the West Bank and Gaza. Israel has become more aggressive, then the whole situation messed up, and so much despair and anger, resistance, violence, checkpoints. Many people have become bereaved as a consequence of this madness. One of them is my brother. I became bereaved by losing him in 2000. He was stopped and very violently killed by Israeli soldiers while I was having my medical treatment because I was badly wounded by an Israeli settler who was driving from Kiryat Arba in Hebron to Jerusalem. And I was sent to Saudi Arabia, where I received the news that my older brother Yusuf, 31 years old, was killed. So what do you do? I mean, I'm a fighter. I was trained on Kalashnikov when I was 15. know how to use it. And I have 1 million reasons to take revenge. And I have the political right to resist this occupation. And I have all the rights that you can imagine to be engaged in violence. But on the other hand, you ask yourself, my mind was convinced that armed struggle for my nation will not lead us to freedom. That was my political mind. But I has become so wounded human being to take any action that you can imagine to deal with this pain and to throw it out. Then you ask yourself, how many Israelis should die for me to heal this pain? How many Israeli mothers has to have the same taste of tears that my mother had? And how many Israeli graves has to be digged in the ground for Israel to understand that taking the life of another person will not secure another nation? When you start, arguing and you are angry and you are not yourself anymore, it's not the same family, it's not the same situation. And you have this conflict between your mind and your heart, your feeling, and I still live under a very hard reality, controlled by this military system of the soldiers and the settlers. Then I closed myself in. I couldn't really take action. We decided as a family actually not to take action. Even people we consider to be leaders of our community, people will propose to you that they will take revenge, they were ready to take revenge, but you know what, it's not about revenge. That's why there is no revenge, because it's not about revenge. My right is not a case of revenge. My right is legal. I don't need an event to have rightness for my right, or legitimacy for my right as a victim. My right is not right because I am a victim. My right is right because I'm a human being, first of all. Right of normal life. I become very angry. I didn't want to see the other side until one day we have met a bereaved group of Israeli parents who came to our home. And believe me when I say that for the first time in my life, I saw an Israeli crying. I could never imagine that these people has tears or have feeling regarding what we face from them. But I also couldn't imagine that these victims who have become victims because of us can understand our rights, can really come to our home with respect and with moral, to show us another face of Israel. Because the only face of Israel that we know and see every day is the occupier, the soldier or the settler. But having a normal mother who have lost her daughter by a suicide bomber coming to us, seeking for reconciliation, that's a big deal. It touched me so deep. My mother, as a political leader, called up, and I found out that I have to build an identity in my community for myself and for all or most these active local leaders who are really effective more than the Palestinian political leadership itself. Say, you will see mayors, you will see ex-prisoners, ex-fighters, officers of the Palestinian Authority, women, mothers are becoming engaged in non-violence. And recently, I did the most insane step by going to Gush Etzion area, where I have a piece, my family has a piece of land surrounded by 6 settlements. And I decided to build the first Palestinian non-violent center in the middle of settlements, where it is Area C. We are not allowed to do anything by the Israeli law. And I found myself 11 months ago going there with my suitcase and with my belief. And today I promise you that this place has become so popular that you cannot imagine. And then I found myself speaking to settlers. I could never imagine in my life that I will be speaking to these people. I mean, what to speak to them, with them about? I mean, just their presence there prevent us to have rights. And I realized that there is a group of settlers who become active for serving different Palestinian needs. And then I said, maybe if I break through this, bubble, maybe I will succeed to create some kind of change. Then I realized that, first of all, I have a huge political argument with them. We have many disagreements, but we started from agreeing and having an agreement how to manage the disagreement, where it has to be non-violently. That was the first agreement, that whatever the disagreement between us, the tool to manage this disagreement has to be non-violence. The other thing is to be open enough for transformation, to transform the feeling, the mind. These people, I realize that they live with us, we drive in the same street, but they have never saw us. And you will hear them saying, we live with you, but we have never seen you as a human being. You have never had face that we can see, because we wanted to ignore you. We were blind not to see you as a nation and not to discover that because of our truth as settlers, we have victimized another nation where they have a true truth, and finally both truths has to fit together. Well, this doesn't mean that we sit and eat hummus and we hug each other and we feel good with ourselves. It's not about all of that. I think settlement is the biggest challenge for peace. We have today 500,000 settlers. Can you imagine 500,000 people and 500,000 settlers who are active? We cannot keep them out of the door and start hugging each other in Tel Aviv where these peace cafes are. Or you will see a nice Tel Avivi left-wing guy will say, Ali, I am nice, I don't speak to settlers. You don't speak to settlers? Wow. Shall I speak to them? I mean, you're throwing your problems on me? If you consider yourself as a peace activist, take the challenge, go and take the painful step by talking to your nation. And then finally, I found myself bringing Israeli activists, left wings from Tel Aviv, convincing them to sit with Jewish people and to bridge between them. Isn't that insane? So there is so many hidden issues within this conflict. The easiest subject is to talk about Hamas, or to talk about rockets, or to talk about occupation, but there is so much details within that the majority of both sides, especially the Palestinian side, more than 95%, even more, are not engaged in violence action. Hey, we have an authority, we have a policeman today in the street in Beit Lahem, Palestinian one, forcing us to put seatbelts. We start putting seatbelts. We start paying tax. We have court, we have prison. We don't have any military groups in the West Bank. We control it. It doesn't mean that we become Gandhis, okay? Because dealing with all of that and building democracy within a military system by Israel is impossible. But I think we have learned to give up feeling a victim. And I think this is where independent start. When you start giving up feeling a victim. But we also stuck with the victims, because Jewish people consider to be victims. And the Jewish fear has become our biggest enemy more than the Jewish themselves. I have nothing to do with Jewish people as a nation. I have no problem with them as a human being. I think the opposite. This Holy Land is for the whole religions from the same God. But my problem is the political management of Judaism, how it is in the West Bank. That's my problem. I don't think that, I promise you, all of my life, I faced events more than losing someone. Every day in your single movement, you face humiliation. But I have never felt that I hate someone. We are an angry nation, but our anger comes from pain and suffering. Like the Israeli anger came from fear and wanting to control because they are not sure how much they will be safe. We have to understand these values. And I think solutions will start not from peace negotiations. We do it. Our politicians call each other almost every day. I think solution come when both nations decide to sit and look for win-win situation. So the last thing that I'm doing today is building with my partners, Palestinian local leaders mostly, the first Palestinian mass movement as a national movement, and we start calling it Promise, because promise is like commitment. We commit for non-violence, and this is our way to deal and to heal and to achieve our cause of freedom or whatever. And I think this is the biggest door that can be opened to Israel, which is the Palestinian non-violence behavior will open doors in the Israeli society for our cause of freedom and rights. And this is the best tool to heal the problem, but also to have the surgery before healing, which is a political one, by reaching a political solution based in 2 states, 1 state, 11 states, but at least we have to start wanting solution. Wanting solution not from our own side, wanting solution from both sides, where they come together and want solution. Then they work to build this solution. So this is, I will stop here. I know there's many details I didn't even speak about, and the issue is more complicated to be explained as an easy issue. No, it is much complicated than this. But I am convinced that the majority of both sides today tired from conflict, but they are very confused, and they are very angry, and they are very hurt inside to stand for solution. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Ali. We have some time now for questions. So if you have questions or if you want to share comments or reactions, I'm sure you found Ali's words moving, inspirational. I think just on a personal level, it reminds us all of the kind of barriers that we put up, both the internal barriers that you talked about, the ways in which we are sometimes limited by our own internal barriers, but also the barriers that we often put up between others who we identify as our enemies and opponents. And, hearing you talk about how you've been able to reach across those barriers and to reach across those divides, which are so much greater than the ones that we face in our lives here, I think is really a very inspirational message, where we often tend to look, in this country we talk about red states, blue states, and all of the political and social, racial and class divides that we face. I think it's a message that has a resonance well beyond Israel and Palestine, so I think so thank you for that. So, questions, comments?
First, thank you for coming out and speaking with us. It sounds like the political prison camp was a very formative time when you were realizing and beginning to choose nonviolence as a route. Can you describe a little bit more who you were learning from? Your mother sounds like she was very instrumental in this time period, but what other figures were there to sort of orient in that direction?
I think the best teacher of human beings are themselves, first of all. Because everything is there, you have to pick it up and to learn. You choose what to learn. This is one. The other thing is, I was not forced, I was pushed to nonviolence. Then you identified with it slowly, because it works. You achieve things. You know, the best thing that we have achieved in the prison is dignity, to be respected by the authority inside the prison. Then I start, prison is something that you can't control. Community is much different. Then I start thinking, yes, I want to learn. Then I start studying Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Badr Shah Khan, who was a Muslim leader coming from a Muslim radical family in India. But he was effective in his community more than Gandhi himself. And I realized around these people, around Mandela and others, there were heroes around them. Believe me, Jawaharlal Nehru in India affected me more than Gandhi himself. Gandhi is not the best clever man. I mean, if you study Gandhi, part of him was terrible. I mean, sometimes with his wife. He's not this, angel. And I said, wow, it works. Because I have this terrible part of me. I do mistakes. Everyone do mistakes. But to be affiliated with that, then you live the story. Then you practice it. When you become to practice it, you feel wherever it is weakness here, I have to strengthen it. So it's you. And there is many teachers, professors, university professors in the prison. Because our political activists are prisoners. So we were in a very respectful environment. No one was allowed to swear. I did it once, I swear with someone, I washed the dishes for 3 days. So you grow up, even the families feel okay that their kids are not in this criminal environment. And on the other hand, the authority keep attacking us. Just imagine 30 people in one room having a tear gas in the middle of it. Sometimes you wish to die. They could beat you. I was in a very hard torture. Sorry. For 1 month and 66 days. You cannot imagine how they tortured me. I was dying. When I say dying, yes, I was dying. It's the terrible torture that you can't imagine. And you stand for it because this is something also that Israel don't understand. Our call of freedom is not a political action. It's our existent belief that we deserve to be free. And freedom is not by your hand. I love when Malcolm X said, people ask me, how can you deal with all of that and reconcile with Israelis? Part of these Israelis has come like my family. I promise you. They become like my family. And I like when Malcolm X said, justice is just us. You create justice. I'm not expecting justice from Bibi Netanyahu, or honestly, or these suckers that I'm meeting. Even though I believe in them that they will create a difference because they are serious. So yeah, you learn, and practicing it is the best.
We're talking about populations getting closer to communities, but what is your point of view on into the diaspora in other countries and the role of different communities in different countries, like in the US or in Europe, and how they really engage in violence as well in other countries? So I guess that's also part of the conflict in a way, and it will there is going to be a need for resolution of that violence as well? Like, how do you see that happening?
She's your student?
She is.
I love that. I think you understand. You know, once I was invited to the House of Lords in London. When I went to the room, I saw two groups of lords. Lords pro-Israel and Lords pro-Palestine. And they don't sit with each other. And they invited me to talk there. And then I said, cannot you be pro-solution? Pro-Israel and pro-Palestine, you just create conflict between Muslim and Jewish in your community in the UK. And we have to come to solve this conflict between you, to tell you that be pro-solution, because none of us is going to disappear, I promise you. Not the Palestinians and not the Israelis will disappear because of your pro. Then they had lunch together. But anyway, what I'm trying to say that politicians are using the one-side behavior as an excuse for not taking responsibility, especially congressmen in this country. I know some of them and I talked to some of them. When Palestinians demonstrate against Israel with this hard statements, they use that as an excuse not to stand for Palestine and not to create legal rights, which is by the international law, for the Palestinian nation. Vice versa, when Jewish extreme people sometimes doing all of these kind of activities, it just, what are they supporting? They're supporting Israel? No. I think they're supporting the radicalism of the Arab world. So yes, United States of America especially has to play a real role and not to be pro one side, and I say it wherever I go. And we have hope from Obama. You know, the first American president that we raised his picture was Obama, as a Palestinian. And for me, it was insane, because we have suffered a lot from United States. We have to say the truth. And from their veto, when it comes to any political decision. Then after that, many Jewish people even supported him because they thought he's going to create solution. Because there's many Jewish people who want solution, I know it. Then we become very desperate by him. Why? And he would say it easily. Because of the one-side lobby. I think we have a mission now, together to do, is to create the joint lobby. If it is joint, no one can have an excuse not to take responsibility or to keep using us. And that's why I say, especially in campuses, wherever I go, don't create another conflict between students here. Just try to bring them together and have an active movement for solution. Then this will Russia, Israel, this will encourage any Palestinian political leadership to have a strength of power for solution, and this will put a stop for the criminal engagement of the international politics and politicians and governments, Arab and Western, together, Muslim and Christian together, engaging in our blood. So yes, it is a very ugly, dirty political initiatives has been invested in our blood. That's why we want to be together and not, and to tell everyone, not by our name, not in our name.
Ahlan Ali.
I don't think.
So it's very inspiring to listen to you, but as you were talking, the thing that popped into my mind a lot is also Arab nationalism and Arab identities, because a lot of the Arabs think of the Palestinian problems as their problem, even though most of the time they don't do anything about it. So a lot of Arab, not the governments, I'm talking about the people, they have this identity of, or thought, or ideology of Palestinians having or reclaiming the land. So when you talk about nonviolence, it seems to me that even if Palestinians support the idea, Arabs in other places won't even agree with it at all. So it's going to be like more of an opposition from outside as well as inside. So how would you possibly like deal with that?
Where are you from?
Bahrain.
I was to Bahrain. There is this movement that I really love. Amnesty. It's for human rights. Some doctors are engaged.
Yeah.
And part of that, they are amazing. Because you know the best thing in them, they don't damage, they don't try to attack the government and damage Bahrain, but also they stand against injustice.
It's not working.
It's
It's not working.
I know, they need some, it will work, but you know it's not, the Arab society is a family society. It's like family has become more than the government itself. So there is many issues are reason of that, lack of democracy. It's not working because I think these governments has been built many years ago, and people has become, it's like they become like drugs for people. Today, the generation today is the most confused one, the new generation. Because of the old system, by having kingdoms and the whole, governmental system, and the new democratic system. Now we are in the middle, as Arabs. We are in a process of transformation. The price is painful. What is going on is not the Arab Spring, actually. I think it's the winter, the Arab winter, not spring. Because it is the right change in a terrible way. Not in a terrible way, it's in the right way, in a terrible results. I speak to Rebecca in Hebrew, she translates to English. This is the good thing in prison. You become a speaker or whatever. Yes, the Arab engagement with my sorrow in the conflict is not the right one, because Arab government doesn't want, and not ready to take responsibility, real responsibility. But the other thing, they don't treat their nations better than us, than Palestinians. Even their nation are suffering from these Arab countries, government, to Dubai, to Jordan, to Saudi Arabia. I saw by my eyes how much suffering are there. America is not better by that. Everyone has his ugly, package. That's why I believe in nations, not governments. And I always speak about the difference between politicians and leaders. Politicians are managers of present, of now. Leaders are managers of future. Because politicians, their goal is now to be elected and have their seats. Leaders, they don't pay attention to the seat, but they are willing to put every single one of the nation to that seat, the right ones. So there is so much argument, and the issue of refugees in the Arab countries. I mean, we have like 5 million Palestinian refugees. And people will be amazed when I say the most secure country for Israelis, the most Arab secure country for Israelis is Jordan, right? You will hear it from Israel. And 70% of the population in Jordan are Palestinian. How do you explain that? So there is yes, I think, and when Arab people sometimes come to me, I have this Egyptian man in London, in a mosque. After I finished my presentation, he came to me with his long beard. I have no problems with beard, I have one. But he said to me, fear God. He said, what? He said, fear God for what you are doing. It's like I don't fear God because I ask for non-violence and solution. I was shocked. He's Egyptian. Then I said, well, you live here. It's nice to come with this statement. Your kids are not putting to the taste every day like my nation kids. It's comfortable here to say whatever. And I think we should, because I fear God, I'm doing what I'm doing. I think you don't fear God, because God never support us to kill ourselves or to get killed by anyone. So anyways, so he become Palestinian more than me. But practically, no. He's there. And I wish he could go to fix the dictatorship in Egypt before come and judging people. So they throw their anger, their despair on us sometimes and on our cause. The third thing is the engagement between religion and culture and politics in the Arab countries, more than Western world. I mean, I'm Arab, I'm proud of being Arab. I thank God to be born Arab. I'm a Muslim, I'm a believer in God, but I think we have sometimes to divide between religion, politics, and culture because they are very intertwined in our society, which sometimes religious leaders use culture as an excuse for their political stand. Yeah, religious leaders use culture as an excuse for their political stand. What I mean is, like, religious people want to force girls to wear veil. And they are engaged in political initiatives by being religious, so they use a cultural issue, not a religious issue. And I always say to the Western world, if you treat us against our identity as Arab or as Muslim, you will not achieve, you will achieve hate. It's like, if you are a Christian, and I will tell you, you are not allowed to wear the cross, like you are not allowed to wear the veil in France, like example. You see about all of these statements. You are not allowed to wear the cross. I promise you that next morning, you will go to the market and buy the biggest cross with jewelry and put it in your chest. It will become your identity. Because people don't feel comfortable by being attacked for who they are. But the Jewish people has been attacked just by being Jew. Nothing else, not because of the occupation. So understanding these values doesn't mean that you become a Jew. I have the biggest argument with Jewish people. But on the other hand, you will know how to talk to these people and wake them up, open their eyes. Because they are not threatened. And sometimes Arab statements comes from Arab countries and Islamic countries. In one hand, doesn't help us. On the other hand, they support Jewish people to become more violent where we pay the price. Not the people in Oman or in Qatar or in wherever. We pay the price of these statements. Iran is so easy for Iran to come with a statement against Israel. And Israel is an occupier. It's the price of what Israel do. But on the other hand, we are stuck with that. We pay the price of that. So it is not the war and it's not the peace. It's the hot and cold area where Arabs and other internationals are there. So, yeah. We have many things to do in our country.
We have time for one last question. Yes.
On a much more local level here on Northeastern campus, just on a tangent from what you were saying about bringing both sides together for some sort of reconciliation, just dialogue. I've been wanting to kind of create some sort of forum between, for example, SJP society on campus, and the Hillel. I have friends in both. I'm in SJP right now. And I just feel there's some obvious animosity there. There's a great divide that seems impossible to cross. When I speak individually to people who are in the Hillel, some of my best friends, we have fantastic conversations that seem productive, just understanding each other's perspectives. I was wondering if you had any ideas how to start that conversation on a bigger level between those two individuals.
Did you invite them today? Do they know?
I'm not aware. It's on the calendar, so I'm sure they can see it.
Okay, the best way I have realized for many years that use us. It's better for them to hear from us than you. I mean, thank you for wanting to do it. I am planning to come back. Israel is in Palestine.
Yeah, right.
Because when the voice comes from all over there, it's easier for Palestinians to understand, and it's easier for Jewish people. I mean, I have no argument with anyone. Solution for me is first my freedom. There is no difference between me and these people who try to be pro-Palestine. Also, my other side of me is there is no argument between me and Jewish people because I also want them to be secure. So it works for both sides. You cannot argue. Well, you can argue, but you cannot win. So use me. I mean, I will, hopefully, we will plan another trip. If you succeed to bring them together just to listen, I will be willing to do that because we succeed to do it in a different place. Where was that university? Princeton University?
NYU.
NYU.
No,
Princeton.
No, it was
Yeah.
the same day. You tell me what was that.
Princeton.
Or Princeton or NYU.
The whole groups worked together to bring them. So there was ABAC, J Street, the pro-Palestinian camp by different names, Arab students. All of them were in the room. After 1 hour, I asked them to stay, the leadership to stay. So I had like 12, 13 people, they stayed from all the parties. Then I said, now you have an action in 2 weeks. I learned from them. Then I said, now you start planning it together. What is the goal of your action? They want to support Gaza. I said, okay, support Gaza in a way that you will not close people down. That engage ABAC than creating another action supporting Tel Aviv by ABAC. They start talking, 40 minutes, I was listening. I was just sitting and listening. And they come together. And they agree about a joint action. And they're gonna do it. Isn't that the best effective way to make a difference? Otherwise every camp will fight forever. There is an endless. So yes, use us, and the other thing is, don't try with all of them together. Because sometimes people, part of a group, it's an identity. Group is an identity. You have to evacuate the group in a way, not evacuate. Start with the easy people. Use material, use stuff. There's some documentaries. If you want to be in touch with Rebecca, maybe she will
Counterpoint.
yeah, to show some films, and I would love to help because you're helping us. I mean, we have to help us to help you to help us. Yeah.
So we heard Ali then give us, accept our next invitation to come to the campus to bring peace not only to Israel and Palestine, but also peace and reconciliation here at Northeastern. So we will definitely love to have you back. I think it was a real privilege to have you here this afternoon. I want to thank you again for coming, and yeah, hopefully we'll be able to hear from you and bring you back to the campus very soon. And best of luck with all of your efforts. So thank you.